All right, Evan Soltoff with Eggersman USA here. I'm here with George Arango, our installation technician, service technician. Today we're going to talk to you about our lighting control system that has been updated for this year. It's the new MEC Driver system. So this will be for any Eggersman products that have lighting control. We've changed from the previous lighting system, which was the emotion driver, to this new driver system. So on the table in front of me we have some of the components, and we're going to talk about each one of them, and we're also going to show you how to program them. But the benefit of this controller system is that you can also control the lighting from any Zigbee lighting controllers. That would be a Philips Hue Bridge, as well as a remote control. There's some other advantages, which is the driver system now works with a wireless door sensor. So there's a lot of benefits to that, certainly some of them being if a client wanted to add a light later with a door sensor, they can do that wirelessly now instead of having to run all the wires and controllers for it. So George, we have our, this is our smart module, and we'll take, just going to go through and describe each of the lights. So what we have in front of us with all the lighting control is the LEMN light, which is the newest light profile. It's also called the Mini Noor. It's slightly angled, it's one of the narrowest, and all of the light have been upgraded to reflect the high efficiency. So this means a brighter light, but also less dotting and spotting to the lights, and less energy consumption. So this Mini Noor light right here comes in black only. It's 24 volts and it's 9.8 watts per meter. So different sizes there, great option. Then we also have a tried and true light. This is something we've had for some time, the LEF light or the Malindi. So it technically doesn't have any profile that you see, it's just the cutout and extrusion, so there's no color options there, but it's also the high efficiency, and it's now 9.8 watts per meter. Almost all of these are going to be that same temperature control. The other lighting options we have that I don't have on the table here, but we'll make sure we show a clip of this. This is the Venice Mini. It's also angled, a little bit wider profile. It does come in stainless or like a metal color, stainless color, and black. And it's 9.8 watts per meter and also 24 volt. And then we have the Manila, which is this one right here, again coming in two colors, the stainless and the black, and it's 9.8 watts per meter, 24 volts, and again high efficiency light. Okay, so we also have the puck lights, which are still used in a few applications. They're also 24 volts, coming in both colors. We'll have an image of them up on the screen as well. So this driver, the benefit here is that it comes in both 12 and 24 volts. George, can we combine the 12 and 24 volts together?
No.
Okay, so it's either 12 or 24 volts, but still a good advantage that we don't need to worry about stocking more than one driver product. The MEC Emotion Driver Kit, it comes with this and this.
Okay.
Okay, there's a separate code for like the drawer lights that it would come with just the 8 connectors and the non-receiver. So the code for that particular device set, just this, LEDMEC, LEDMEC. So it comes with the power, and it comes with what they call the radio receiver with 4 connectors. Okay, so this is a smart connector. It has its own built-in Zigbee controller. And this can connect to a lighting controller. We'll demonstrate that. The benefit here is that with 12 volts, this driver will produce 60 watts, and with 24 volts, it can do 72 watts. So while you can't mix them, match them, this can be done either 12 or 24 volts. What about this device here, George? What would this one be used generally for?
It would mostly be for your interior lighting in the drawers.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, just lights that are going to be currently powered, and you're not having to, you know, change temperature, be turning off and on when they already have, you know, the interior drawer lightings. They already come with an integrated sensor. Right. So that should be sufficient for your drawer interior lighting.
Okay. So when we're doing interior drawer lighting, we can use this module, and the code, by the way, for that one is a little bit different because it doesn't have this smart function built in. It's just kind of straight up power and 8. How many distributions does that have?
I would say it has 8.
8 distributions. So the code for that one is going to be SILKMEC and then 12UL or SILKMECUL. So that is the difference here. Honestly, there's no equipment difference. I think the factory just wants to know how many of the 12 volt or the 24 volt. So because we do have SILK lights, those are our interior drawer lights. They come in both 12 and 24 volt. You would just choose the ones that you're going with. At the end of the year, the factory will have all lights in 24 volts, so we won't have to worry about that consideration between 12 and 24, but that'll be later in probably Q3 or Q4 of 2024. So this is used for our interior, or if your client has no need to control the lights at all or change the temperature, they're just using fixed temperature lights, this would be the device. But for the most part, we're going to be getting this kit. All right, comes as is. So there's some other accessories and features that we're going to talk about, and I think that's one of the greatest things that we've added here is the door contact set. So this is the LEDIRSO. So George, tell us about how this works.
So the way this works is that you would have your sensor connected directly to this receiver. The door contact switch, you could either connect the LED light directly to it if you're just gonna control one light, or you have this distributor that you could connect several LED lights on it if you want it controlled by the sensor. Got here.
Here's another one.
Here's another one. And it doesn't matter where exactly you connect them. You could either put them next to each other or separate them in a different port, and they automatically work with the sensor. Your switch module would only work your LED lights as long as they're connected directly to the connector coming from it. And you can go ahead and connect other LEDs over here and not be interfering with your sensor. Let's demonstrate that. So there we have another LED light connected.
Both of them are on.
Both on the same receiver, but now we have one light connected to the sensor module. And let's give that a shot. So there we can see which light is being operated by the sensor, and the other one is not being interfered whatsoever.
So what happens, how does this get installed in the cabinet, George? How does the sensor get installed in the cabinet?
So the sensor would either come already from factory or be routed out for you. Pretty much it will be already installed on the panel, the top panel or bottom panel, whichever the designer chooses to put this sensor for you. But if it does not come routed out or anything like that, we could still do that on site, or depending on your preference, we could even put it on top of the panel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're using 2 doors, the way that the kit works is that it comes with a sensor and a receiver, okay? But if you're using a double door cabinet, you're going to end up having an extra piece of equipment. We're working with the factory now to see if we can develop another kit or product. By the time this video is out, maybe that'll already be available, where you receive 1 of the receivers and 2 of the sensors, because that's what you need for a double door setup, okay? So the pairing is the same. You pair 1 of the door sensors to the receiver, then you pair the other one to the receiver. What I'm going to demonstrate is how this works. I've already got a receiver hooked up over here, and I have it hooked up to both of these sensors. And I'm going to show you the way it works. So imagine this is 2 separate doors. If this was a 2-door cabinet, the sensor would be placed in the center of each individual door. If it was a single door cabinet, the sensor would be placed on the handed side, not the hinge side, but the handed side of the cabinet, because that's the first side that's going to open and allow the light to come on, okay? So if it's a double door, I'm going to cover one sensor. You can see the light stays on. I'm going to cover the other sensor. The light goes off. I'm going to open this sensor and the light goes on. I'm going to open this sensor and the light goes on. And now I have both sensors open. And then what this is representing and simulating for us is that when a client has the cabinet closed and they open any door, left or right door, doesn't matter, the light's going to come on, all the lights, When they go to close the cabinet, if they close one door, the lights still stay on, which is what you want. You want the lights to stay on if only one door is open, basically. So when they go to close that second door, then the lights shut off. So you can have up to 2 sensors on this single receiver. That's it, only 2. So with this, that means that you have all the lights in this cabinet on one individual driver and currently on one individual receiver. You can have more lights on this driver that are not controlled by this receiver. George demonstrated that earlier. But in this case, if you have more lights that don't fit the capacity of this driver, then you'll need additional sensors. So for example, you exceed the 75 watts that the driver allows in a single cabinet, which is, it's quite hard to do with the effective nature of the LED lighting now and the low consumption of power. But if that were to happen, you might need another sensor to be included into the cabinet to power those additional lights, because these really are only designed to work with one receiver, which in turn works with one driver. What about maintenance on that? Is there anything we need to do to it eventually, or?
For the sensor, the maintenance would mostly be the lifetime of the battery that it has internally.
And how do you change the battery?
To change the battery, you will see that there's a slot back here. Pretty much with your nail, there's a little slot, push it out, and you're gonna have a 2450 battery.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're also going to talk about the remote control. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the remote. The remote control no longer comes with the driver set. It's very important to understand the driver set, even with the receiver and the module that allows you to do wireless control either with a remote or with a home automation system, it no longer comes with the remote. And that's because the remote's not required to control the lighting system this way. However, it might be convenient for the customer. So you would need to add that as a separate code. It's the LEDFBMC. LEDFBMC. So the example that I'm showing here is white, but it does come in a black color. Black color is the way you're going to get it. It's nice because it has a magnet built into the remote. It has a cradle that it comes with double-sided adhesive, as well as the ability to screw it in. It can be mounted to the wall or to a cabinet or anything, and the remote just sits nicely in the cradle. Okay. If you intend only to use the driver and the module with remote control operation, you can proceed directly to programming of the remote. But if you intend to use this on a home automation system, you need to do the home automation system programming first, because that will knock out the programming of the remote. One thing that you want to pay attention to that's a separate part as well, since the wireless module has only 4 outputs, you might decide or need more than that, because again, at 24 volts, it handles 72 watts. So you can easily take this 6-way splitter, which is in the book, it's the LED6VL, and you can connect it to the wireless module and have that plugged in. And now you have 6 plus 3 here, so you can have up to 9 lights. Again, that depends on the load of your lights, how many lights you're gonna have and what the total wattage of that is. Not to exceed 72 watts with 24 volts. To do the home automation system programming and to be able to use the lighting using the smart function, controlling it from your phone or maybe a routine in your Alexa app or through a home integration system like Samsung SmartThings, or there's others out there, of course, many of them, you need a bridge, a lighting bridge, to be able to control the Zigbee protocol of lights. So this device operates on Zigbee. This is just power, but this part here uses a protocol of control called Zigbee. It's an open source product. There's lots of different products out there. Some home locks use it, lighting control, many different things. And this bridge, this Hue Bridge is what it's called, is made by Philips. It can be purchased off of any websites. You can get it at electronic stores, and it allows the integration of these devices to be found on the Hue Bridge. You need to power it, and it also has a hardwired data connection. Some of them can be wireless as well, but the best and most effective way to get a signal is to have a data connection to it. And this can be within Wi-Fi proximity or reasonable proximity of these devices. So in the same room, even in the same house, as long as it's can reach with a normal data signal, Wi-Fi signal. So this is not provided by Eggersman USA, but it is something that the client can readily and easily access. Again, if there is no wireless signal and maybe it's better to be closer to the device, as long as this can get Wi-Fi from your home Wi-Fi network, you could just provide power to it and then connect it wirelessly to the network. This just has to be within reasonable proximity of this device here so that it can communicate. And what we'll do now is we'll turn this on, program it, and we'll show you how to link this up to this and then control it. And then you can control it from different places. You can control it when you're not home. You could set routines and schedules, lighting kind of concepts and controls, times that it comes on. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to show you what the Hue Bridge looks like. This is it. It's paired up. So right now all I did was I downloaded the Hue Bridge app. I plugged my Hue Bridge into my Wi-Fi or my home networking router, and I plugged in power. And then I used the app to say, find my nearest Hue Bridge, pair a new one. You have to create an account. It's free. You can create an online account, make an email and everything. And now it's letting me know it found the Hue Bridge and just to pair this. Now again, this is a device the client would buy separately. It's not something we sell, but you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at any electronics store. So I'm going to push that and kind of let it know that it's paired. It says success. Congratulations, you've paired your bridge. And we're going to hit continue. Okay, and then we can start to begin setup. Yes. Keep data. Okay, and then we're going to hit done. Okay, now I had previously paired a light from this. That's why it asked me that information. But we have this called the work bridge. So here I have already 2 accounts because I have one at home as well. And we're going to pair the driver and components. George is going to walk us through how to do that based on the manual that we have. On your screen, we'll also have some instructions available to you. Download them from our website, from our intranet, on how to program these. So you're going to use the device here, and this is going to be programming first the Zigbee device directly, right?
Yes, so what it's saying is that we would have to reset the receiver, press and hold the button in the receiver for approximately 5 seconds. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Be good to have a light connected to this when you do it. This way you know when it's reset. So go ahead and.
Those are the 5 seconds.
5 seconds. We're going to reset this. This would be as if you paired it previously.
4, 5. There it is.
All right. So it's reset. Kind of fresh start. On a side note here, there is a switch on the receiver, on the wireless receiver here, that allows you to switch it whether it's emotion, which is what we use the multi-white kind of emotion LED lights, or if it's static. So if a client did choose to use this for static LED, that would be that allowing this to be controlled with dimming function, but without the multi-white, like changing from warm to cool, cool to warm. This is currently set for warm to cool, cool to warm. Which is what we want to keep it, and that's the way you want to leave it. That's in the instructions as well. If you're having a problem changing the color temperature, check to make sure that that is switched to emotion lighting. All right. Now that we have the device cleared, just in case there was any previous programming done, we're going to go ahead and use the remote control to put the system into learning mode. So George, what do we do to put this in learning mode?
We're going to go ahead with the off button. We're going to hold it to 5 to 11 seconds. You're going to notice there's going to be a LED light right here, and it's gonna, as soon as it gets to the 5 to 11 seconds, you're gonna notice that the LED is gonna start flashing red. There we go. That's when you know you have it on teaching mode. And always keep your controller, whenever you're doing these things, as close as possible, up to 15 centimeters from the module.
All right. And now what, George?
And now we're gonna go to the app, open the Zigbee app, and search for new lights.
All right. So we're in the app now, the Hue Bridge app. I've got my Hue Bridge paired. I'm going to click Add Lights, and I'm going to go Search. And it's going to start searching for lights. Okay, and it says it found one light. So we're going to start configuration. So the light that we have connected to this device already changed colors. There's some graphics you can choose from here, so we can edit the name of the light. We just got it called task light right now. We can also change the graphic of a light. What kind of light is this? Well, for the most part, our lighting is going to be linear lighting, so I've chosen the graphic light bar. But there's recessed, floor lights, ground spots, all kinds of different kinds of lighting. So you can choose the graphic that's right for you. And then we can change the name of our light. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this around so I can read it real quick. I've got it called Test Light, but I'm going to go ahead and rename it. I'm going to call it Houston Showroom Light. So you can use your keypad and change the name here like I've done. I can erase it or change it to something different. Then I can choose my type of graphic that I'd like to use to represent it. Okay, there are different kinds to choose from. All different kinds. All right, and then we're going to hit done. All right, and now the new light is found. We've named it. We don't have it assigned to a specific room yet. We just have it in our system. But I can already drag the color and start changing it. And what we'll notice is that it also changes the light or any lights that are programmed to this driver. It'll allow us to change the color of them. Okay, I can pinpoint that in a graphic. Okay, and I'm going to hit done. So that was kind of setting the default. Now, we have the option of also turning the light on and off from here or testing it. We're going to hit Add New Room and assign this to a room. So I'm going to say this is in the kitchen. Okay, and I can call it anything, but I'm just going to leave it called Kitchen. Done. Okay, and so now we're going to take our light and we're going to drag it down to our kitchen. And now we have the light assigned to a specific room. And we'll hit next. And we've successfully paired our light. Now I can turn all the lights in the kitchen off, or I can enter the kitchen and turn just this light off. Now, as we can see, there's only one light here. But I can change the brightness of the light from this control here. I can change also the temperature of the light from here. I can turn it on and off and say, okay, this is the setting that I'd like to save, changing it to a particular program. Okay. I can also choose different scenes that I'd like to have, maybe a natural white scene or a scene very specifically colored warm. Honolulu is one. And I could set that scene and save it. Now that we have our light set up, we have one light here, but we've also created a room, we can do other things. So we can create automations. So here you can get creative. You can create automations to set this when you wake up in the morning to a specific time of the day, maybe when the sun comes up. You can also set it to a circadian rhythm. So if you'd like to have the lights change colors throughout the day, you can do that. This is part of the Hue Bridge app. But many clients like to have full home automation systems that bring in not only lights, not just these lights, but also maybe their thermostats and their door locks and their security cameras and other pieces of equipment. There are many different methods of doing that, many different applications. Many of our clients use Lutron systems or HomeWorks, or Apple has their own version or Control4. There's also one called Samsung SmartThings. It's a little bit of a simple setup, but most of these programs will work with this Zigbee controller. So that is a way of integrating multiple devices into one. I have here on my phone a device for Samsung SmartThings, and this is my home automation system. And I will go to the showroom here, and I will add a device. So one of the apps that you can use to do home automation for multiple devices like locks and lights and so forth is Samsung SmartThings. So I actually have my house on here, and I have our Laguna showroom, our Houston showroom, and so I'm going to select Houston, and I have some of my favorite devices. This is just sitting in the space, but I have this light that we're testing right here, and you can see there's lots of different things that you can do. You could set a sleep timer, you could set timers, routines that you could set. So here is where you could get creative with your different devices. So these settings are great, and they can be done easily with the Philips Hue, connecting this to multiple drivers, so you can have multiple drivers, I believe up to 4 of these devices connected to a single Philips Hue, and that means 4 separate lights, or even more if you use the 6-way splitter, and then 4 separate drivers. That's many drivers, many different lights, all connected, being programmed by the Hue system. So now from this point, we do recommend, if the client wants to use something other than the Hue or Alexa or SmartThings type of setup, if they're using a really complicated home automation system, that'd be something that they want to get their home automation expert or professional involved in, because that's beyond the level of programming or reach that we can do here. I do want to show you, however, beyond this, a simple, let's say their home automation system fails or the internet goes out or whatever they want to be concerned about. We will also show how to program the remote. Now again, if you're using the remote in combination with the Zigbee wireless function and automation system, you want to program it after. So now we're going to go ahead and do that. And George is going to show us how to program the remote control after we've already set the system up.
So what you would do is keep it really close to the receiver, up to 15 centimeters. And you have to select what group you're going to put the lights that are connected to the receiver. You select first the group that you want the lights in. So we're going to go with 1. Select 1. It's going to flash green. We're going to hold the power button up to 9 seconds. It's going to flash red, but as soon as it flashes green once, that's when you release the power button.
So this remote has 4 zones to it, and we paired zone 1. Now that is for 1 complete receiver and driver. So you can have up to 4 receiver driver combos programmed on this remote in groups 1 through 4. So if I wanted to control them each independently, I could do so with 1, 2, 3, and 4 different drivers. That's how this remote works. Now from the remote, you can also turn the light. You can not only turn the light on and off, but you can also temperature adjust the light by holding down, having the light on and holding down the temperature control button, and you can see that as I hold it down, it changes the color temperature. And I can do the same thing for dimming. So I can hold this button down and go dimmer. So I can do that for each individual zone connected to this remote. At the moment, we just have 1. I could have separate controls for each one. Another nice feature of this system is that if I have some lights set up on the door sensor and some not, when I have them programmed with this remote or even the app, the temperature of all lights, even if they're off, even if the door sensor is closed or in the shut position and the lights aren't on, once I set the temperature, all the lights will be at the same temperature. So there is a benefit to that. Right now I think there's some difficulty in setting the temperature of the lights on the door sensor versus the temperature of the lights on display lighting. This solves that problem and you don't have that issue. So a little bit more work up front, naming and setting up if the client wants to do the home automation, but now it is really possible. And I think if you tell our trade partners that are working in the home automation field that we work with Zigbee protocol and they'll just need a Philips Hue and then they'll be able to find the lights from there, most of them will know what you're talking about and they will be able to take it to the next level beyond in their programming function.
If you're not liking the group you selected for those certain lights on that receiver, you can always go back and delete, pretty much reset that whole group, eliminate it, and start over and set that group of lights in a different group.
You can have multiple drivers or multiple driver receiver combos using the remote function on, let's say, group 1 or group 2. You don't need to have only 1 per group, but when it comes to the system on the phone or the home automation system, each particular driver set is considered different. So the remote might be more advantageous for some designs, whereas the home automation system would be more advantageous for other designs. So it just depends on your client's needs and how many of these they have. but it is certainly a benefit to now have one system for both 12 and 24 volts, the ability to expand this driver set with lights that don't get controlled by either remote or by Zigbee. And so that would be like your drawer lights or anything static or stationary. And the whole system being 24 volts is also a huge advantage. What George is showing you here is that this light is unaffected by the remote control, and this one is. And so anything plugged into this smart controller is going to be adjusted with either the remote or the app. And this device is just static, it's just on. So if you decide to use the receiver module with connectivity to the remote control, you may notice that the lights that are on your door and if you're also using door contact switches, you'll notice that even when the door contact switches are turned off, like the lights inside of a cabinet are turned off, if you go to use the remote, you turn lights on and off, it's still affecting the lights that are connected to the door sensor. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So you may decide that some of these drivers that are connected to the receivers, you may not actually need to program remote to them at all, okay? It's not needed if you're using door contact switches, but you still want to use the receiver because it's intelligent. It'll allow you to communicate with the door contact sensors. So pay attention to that. So I'm going to demonstrate. So here I have a remote control. I've programmed it to my receiver. I also have on the same receiver and driver, I have a door contact receiver programmed to 2 door sensors, which are transmitting the signal. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to turn all of these lights off with the remote control. Okay, and now the lights are off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can activate my door sensors. So I have them currently closed. Both doors are closed. The lights are not coming on. Okay, and that's because the entire receiver and driver is turned off by the remote. Okay, if I go ahead and turn it on, okay, I can now activate the door contact switches. So that is something that you want to pay attention to when you're programming and setting this up in the home. You may decide that you don't want to use the remote for this particular set of devices and only connect the remote, or you can, in the instruction manual, you'll notice that there's a way to wipe the memory of the remote to the specific receiver. So you might choose to unlink the remote to this setup because the client might accidentally turn off their lights and then call you and say, hey, my door sensors aren't working. And it's because their lights might be off everywhere else. Okay? There is a benefit, however. Most of these are benefits. The benefit is that you can see right now that the lights, I'll change the temperature of them to really cool. This is like a white light. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and close the doors of the cabinet, or turn the door sensors off, and I'm going to change the color temperature to warm. Okay, and we're going to see what happens. Now you can see the lights are warm. So using the remote, I can turn all the lights off. That includes the ones that are on the door sensor. Okay, or I can turn them on, and now you can see they're at their full brightness. I'm going to go ahead and close the doors, so we can see that only one light is on. All the other lights are behind doors, presumably. I'm going to go ahead and change the color temperature of this particular light, and now you can see it's really bright white. Well, what about all the other lights? So when I turn them back on, we can see that all the lights are now white. So they changed with the light that was on because it's intelligently connected to the receiver of the door contact. So I can do the same thing, cover these lights, and I'm going to go ahead and dim this light down a bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn these back on, and you can see they also dim down. So just because they're not on doesn't mean they're not changing as well. They're all changing together. Okay? That is a new feature and is part of the MEC system. This new control system brings our lighting up to date with what is also being offered by LNS USA. Means the control systems are flexible. If we needed to get equipment locally for this control, we can do so because this is what they're stocking in the United States. It offers many different options for the way we control the lighting. Some dynamic abilities to integrate with home automation systems now, making things certainly easier. Less parts to stock, simpler in the end than the previous equipment, and it is the latest technology. So check the comments below. We'll have some links to the different documentation for the lighting controls, any downloads. Check your price book often if there's any changes to the codes, the code structure, and where it's used. This control system is now available for all lighting through Eggersmann as a manufacturer in Germany, and they're offering it. It is UL approved. I didn't mention that, but this is all UL approved equipment, so that's really important and helpful, and it will continue to grow as we expand and change and upgrade our lighting. Thank you for watching.